Alright, check this out. Would you consider this a video game? Yes. The answer is yes. Hades is a video game. But what about this? Or this? Or this? Or this? Or even this? Where do you draw the line for something that is and isn't a video game? Well, by definition, all of these are video games. Except Genshin Impact. Here's another question for you. What is the first video game? On November 29th, 1972, Alan Alcorn released Pong, a simple game where two pals move up and— yeah, you know what Pong is. Pong's the first video game, right? Wrong. On October 18th, 1958, a whole 14 years before the release of Pong, William Higginbottom created a program that he called Tennis for Two, a simple game where two people play virtual tennis with each other. Just not like how Pong did it. So while Pong may have been the first mainstream video game, Tennis for Two technically counts as the first, right? To answer this, we need to first know what a video game is. The Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary defines it as an electronic game in which players control images on a video screen. The definition of a game is described as an activity engaged in for diversion or amusement. So our definition of a video game becomes an electronic activity in which players control images on a video screen for diversion or amusement. Great, now we've got a solid definition for a video game, and Tennis for Two fits that description. However, prior to the creation of Tennis for Two, there were even more programs that could be counted as a video game. Sam Farber created OXO in 1952, which is basically electronic tic-tac-toe. Lytton Strachey released Droughts in 1952 as well. While these games may be incredibly primitive, they still fit the definition for a video game. Even then, we can go even further. Programming itself can be counted as a video game because it involves interacting with the computer screen and can be done for amusement. Everything done on a video screen can be counted as a video game. But also, it really can't. I can mess around with the calculator all I want, but I can't really consider that a video game, even though it matches the dictionary definition. The dictionary definition is just too unreliable. So, what is the definition of a video game? In a quest to find an answer to this, I called my friends and asked them what they thought. Alright, so I guess we should just start our interview now. It's probably important for me to ask first, how often do you play video games?
Now I probably play like an hour or two every week now. How much was I playing before? An unhealthy amount. I'll say that.
Used to play, I would play every day, but I've been busy recently, so I usually play like maybe once or twice a week now.
I play a fairly decent amount. I play, I don't know, a few times a day.
Okay, so back in 2018, 2019, I probably played video games for at least an hour every day, if not more. So somewhere between 1 and 2 hours every day. I grinded Bed Wars, but it was no good.
What would your definition of a video game be?
I think it varies by like context, but by like pure definition, I would say a video game is really any electronic game, I guess, that uses like video, I guess, like VGA, HDMI and all that.
Any form of digital entertainment that requires interaction from the user.
I would define a video game as I guess, an art form, definitely an art form.
I think the definition of a video game, it depends on, I guess, what you want out of it. So, I mean, it depends on what you want, but I think overall, my definition would be, I guess, a medium to express storytelling or interactive storytelling.
Oh, that's a tough one. Like a video game is obviously like a digital game used for entertainment, but like it could be described so many other ways, like entry into a whole new world, like a whole new experience. Like there's so many ways you could describe a game.
And I guess I define a video game as a digital, playable, and controllable platform. I guess that's how I define it. I don't think there's anything else that needs to be defined other than digital, playable.
If I had a calculator in front of me and wanted to see how fast I could type in numbers, would you call that a video game?
By pure definition, even then, I don't think so. Because I think it also has to do with, like, how are things displayed, right? Like, what are the programs that are being used? Like, a calculator, I think when the program, its intention is to be a game, I think that's when it can be considered a video game.
I guess it could be. No, wait. I guess it could be, yeah. Because like there are like video games like Cookie Clicker where all you do is click, or like there are like tap games, you know, like mobile app games where you just tap the thing and the counter goes up. I don't see how that's any different from a calculator.
I mean, technically no, but it is a digital thing. By technical definition, it is a thing that I'm entertaining myself with. That is, I guess, moving graphics on a screen, because that's the technical definition of a video game. And I guess if you manage to somehow turn making line graphs into a game, then that I guess can be considered a video game to a degree, but not really.
No, there's no story element involved. There's no specialized, controls. You are just like for a purpose other than inputting numbers,
I wouldn't say so, no, because like it doesn't how could I say this? A video game has to have a decent amount of like code, maybe not always an objective to it, but like most of the time you're going to want an objective. There are games like Cookie Clicker where you just tap buttons and stuff, and those are considered video games, but you can improve, you can upgrade, you can advance forward. Clicking buttons in a calculator, trust me, you're just clicking buttons, bro. That ain't playing a video game.
I think so I want to say yes, but if I look deeper in the question, I would say that there has to be, you couldn't make it into a video game, I guess. If you're like, this is a game that I go back to play, then yeah. But if it's just something you're doing out of boredom, I'd say it's more of just a game. I wouldn't call, just like any like board game, I wouldn't call, moving chess pieces around on a board necessarily a board game until you have some structure to it.
Do you think the intent of a user helps to classify something as a video game?
I don't think it's the intent of the user. I think it's the intent of the maker.
Does it help to classify it? Yes. I don't know if it's necessary though. I'm trying to think of an example. That's something that wasn't really meant to be entertainment, but people ended up finding it very fun, or something that didn't initially start out as like a video game.
Yes, because I think people should enjoy games in the way they want to enjoy the game that they are playing. Like, you could be playing, for example, Hades, like you said, you can be playing it to like grind out for like the hardest mode, go for phase 3 on the hardest bosses and do that. Or you can be a person who likes to just read stories, go with the story and not really like focus on the gameplay aspects.
Good question. I would say so, because I mean, if you break it down to its most base level, video games are programs. Like they're just ones and zeros at the end of the day. So I think the intent to use them in a way that causes entertainment or enjoyment, I think that's a big factor in whether or not it's considered a video game as opposed to a program expressed through video.
Well, okay, it depends because the game is designed and like built upon the audience, right? So a person could do much for a game, like mods, for example, a way to improve games and like how you play them. Um, but I don't know, it would have to depend a good chunk amount.
Yeah, I think that relates back to what I was saying. I think if you're intending to use it in a way that you're repeating over and over, like this action, so like the calculator example, if you're constantly trying to type it as fast as you can, then yeah, I'd say that definitely is a defining factor.
Do you think the intent of the developer can help classify something as a video game?
I think the intent of the developer is more important than the intent of the user, because I mean, like, think about hacking, right? What's the definition of hacking? Hacking is, just hijacking something, using something for something it wasn't intended for. I don't think that's the exact definition of hacking, but I mean, you get the point. Is like the inventors of TeamViewer, for example, weren't meant to didn't design it to be a social engineering tool, right? They designed it to be a support tool for remote support for computers. But I mean, scammers ended up using TeamViewer as a social engineering tool to get remote access to victims' computers. I don't think what the scammers did makes it any different. It doesn't make it a social engineering tool. It just makes it a tool that social engineers use.
Yes, I think that definitely helps also. I mean, intent helps a lot to classify it because entertainment is so subjective. What's entertainment to one person wouldn't be entertainment to another person.
Yes. Because the developer could say, oh yeah, this is more or less more like a short film than a game. Because it could just be a purely animation, but be listed like apparently like a game because it has, I guess, some form of fashion gameplay elements, I guess. If you consider gameplay elements clicking on the screen, making branching paths. Or the developer can say, this is purely all player interaction. This is every decision the player makes is, gonna affect the story, or is gonna have something big, or it's just the way it's meant to be played.
Of the developer, I guess it would depend on the end product because you can intend to make a video game, but if in the end all you made was a calculator, then it's not really a video game.
Yeah, sort of, because like they label it as like, yo, video game. But then there are other things like the dinosaur game. I guess you could classify it as a video game. True, it's just like a fun little thing that Google or whatever developed as a thing, like, oh, your internet crashed. But it's become like a legitimate thing, like people play it a lot, and I don't know if there are like categories for it or anything. Because I don't think he intended it to go as far as it did.
Definitely. Though I think kind of like art, like you can make a piece of modern art and say it represents something, but it doesn't have to represent that. Like modern art half the time doesn't really represent anything. It's just a bunch of blocks or squiggles or splatters. But if a video game is used by people repetitively, like we've talked about before, then I do think the developer, if he says it's a video game, that definitely is like, yeah, it's a video game then.
Can the developer be wrong when he calls his work a video game?
That's tough. I mean, do you have an example to go off of? Like,
Sure. Let's say a developer makes a program where you push a button and the screen turns green, and he keeps claiming this is a video game, when really all that happens is you push a button and the screen turns green.
yeah, I don't actually, now that you say it like that, I don't think that would be a video game because it doesn't really meet the criteria. What is the definition of a video game? Can we Google that real quick?
For the sake of not making this video any longer than it already is, I'll just cut out the part where we discuss the definition of a video game. If you're curious, he basically said that the literal and colloquial definitions of a video game are different from one another. Anyways, back to the interviews.
I think, now that I fully understand that question a bit more, I think it's more like the way an artist interprets a painting. Everyone has their own different ways of interpreting, but the artist meant one sole thing for the game or the picture, but everyone has their own ways of interpreting it.
I think that's subjective. So it depends. I would say majority consensus in terms of whether or not it is recognized as a video game, but whether it's intended as a video game is much more subjective.
Nah. Well, like most of the time, yeah, I guess like they're pretty right on that, but I wouldn't say they're always right, because like, yeah, things can inspire from one thing and be like, this is not a video game, it's just used for educational purposes, and then next thing you know, there's like whole speedrun categories for it. It just really depends on how active the community is on to improve and further it.
Yeah, I guess on the same note, I'm struggling with this one because there's not a good example of this in my head. But you know, if I just put in a line of code that said "Hello World," just because it's on video, and when you click it, it does something, I wouldn't classify that as a video game.
Do you think there's a clear line between something that is and isn't a video game?
I mean, yes and no. I think I just got to stick by what my original statement was, is because, like, I think it's kind of 50-50, you know? It's like, if we're talking, like, exact definitions, yeah, like literal, that's a good way to put it. If we're talking literal, then yeah, of course there's a distinct line, but if we're talking, you know, what actual gamers consider video games, no, I don't think that there is a real clear distinct line. I think gamers will...
Not really. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing as, do you think there's a clear line between what is and what isn't art? Anything can be a video game, really. But I think, like, the distinctions that I laid out before, they're so vague that almost any, like, digital product counts as a video game. Like, Microsoft Word could almost be a video game, the way I've defined a video game, if people find it entertaining, I guess.
Yes, because I said a game has to have some layer of interaction, like, you know, human interaction with the game to make it a game. It can't just really be something you watch, but it's something you at least have to do in it. Because I know even some games with campaigns and a story mode usually have some gameplay that you do, and it's not just all story, it's just very easy.
If there is a line, I think it's one that's constantly shifting, especially because of how far we've come from the inception of video games to where we are now and where we're going in the future.
Yeah, because video games are digital, like, you know, video game, they're pretty digital, but like something like hopscotch, that can't be a video game unless you create it into a video game.
You know, I never thought about this one before, but after saying what I'm saying, I guess I'd say no, there's not a clear line. Some people would define things differently. This is just my definition, so.
These next few questions I only came up with after a couple of interviews, so not everybody will answer them. Would you call a Telltale game a video game?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, those are definitely video games. I mean, what you do in Telltale games can actually influence the game a lot. You know, it's not like in a movie, you get to choose, okay, is Frodo going to go to Mordor, or is he not going to go to Mordor? What's he going to do in the situation? Is he going to say this? Is he going to say that? And you don't get to choose those things in a movie, but in Telltale, you get to, like, influence how the story plays out.
Yeah, I'd say that's a video game.
In 1985, there was a movie released called Clue, which was based off of the board game. However, this movie was unique in that it actually aired separate versions in theaters with different endings. When it came to DVD, you were able to choose which ending you wanted. Would you consider this a video game?
I mean, by definition, yeah. I guess if we're going by Oxford's definition, yeah, 100% that's a video game because you're controlling what the output is, you know? You're controlling the images, you're controlling what's popping up on the screen. Well, actually, can you read the definition one more time?
It's defined as an electronic game in which players control images on a video screen.
Ah, okay, so then it wouldn't be a video game because it's not a game. Yeah, it's a movie.
Huh. You actually prepared pretty good questions. That is super weird, right? How is Clue different from the Clue Master Collection different from Telltale games? You know, in a sense, it really isn't, right? I mean, I guess developer intent kind of helps here because the Telltale games are intentionally structured around player choice versus in the Clue situation, that's like a very meta thing, right? Where you have a master collection on one DVD, right? And it's really just a set of different movies, which I guess Telltale is kind of also, but the player choice is not affecting the story, it's just affecting which... Okay, no. How should I say this? I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange.
I'd say that's a movie with a video game aspect, but it's not a video game. It personified a small bit of a video game within the movie. And if you did enough of that, then that movie suddenly turns into a video game.
After answering these questions, are there any adjustments or comments you want to make on your original definition for a video game?
I mean, to an extent. I mean, because once I heard the actual definition of what a video game is, according to Oxford, yeah, okay, I kind of changed my mind, but I still think that colloquial video games, that term, is still way different than, what a video game by definition is.
There's absolutely nothing I could change about that definition that would make it so everything that we consider a quote-unquote video game would fit within that definition, but also the boundaries and distinctions would be clear enough so that stuff that we wouldn't immediately consider a video game, like the Clue Master Collection, would not be considered within that definition. So my point is there's too much overlap between different forms of media, like this Clue Master Collection movie and Telltale games. There's too much overlap between them that it's impossible to separate them, or I think, as far as I can conclude, there's no definition that can separate both of them, into nice, clean, separate things.
I think I would say video games are more something that people should interpret in their own way, while also including the way the developer intended them to be made, and that they're just there to have fun. People can invest their life into it, they can put their heart and soul into playing it, just as much time as a developer would making it, but as long as they're having fun doing it, they're enjoying a game, which is what games are for. Even if it's like a game like chess. Chess is there to be fun, and that is, I guess, the true definition of a video game, to be fun.
Actually, yeah. I think that there are a lot of different components to what makes a video game a video game. So I think the definition, again, it varies a lot, and it's subjective to what you consider a video game, and everybody has different definitions. But I think that it is a shifting scale. So depending on what you are considering at a given moment is a video game, or what contributes to a video game, can change on what you consider a video game.
I don't think so, because you can't really do a physical video game, sure, there's something like Just Dance or other weird things where you actually get up and move around to do it, but you're still doing it on a screen, it's all still digital.
I think the main thing I didn't mention would be that a video game doesn't have to cause enjoyment for it to be a defining factor, but it is a defining factor of it that sometimes it will cause enjoyment.
Language is a fickle thing. Words don't actually mean anything until we give them a meaning. All of their definitions are abstract. Some words, like year, will have a pretty solid definition that everyone can agree upon. However, nobody can seem to agree on what a universal definition for a video game is. In the literary sense, a video game is and always will be an electronic game. But in the colloquial sense, not everything that fits that description is called a video game. It's up to us to decide what fits that description. We draw the line between video games and other forms of media. We differentiate between video games and digital tools. We define what a video game is. A video game is whatever you want it to be. Unless it's Genshin Impact.